Hey folks, Robbie Payne with Chrome Unbox coming at you today with a review of the gold Acer Chromebook 14. Now we originally reviewed this back in May when it first came out, and the review was less than stellar at the time, but Chrome OS has grown and evolved over the course of the last 7 months, and as a result this is actually a better device than it was 7 months ago. We happen to have the gold version running around the office now, and we thought this would be a good time to revisit this device and let you know why we think now this device may be one of the best Chromebooks of 2016. So let's start things off with what might be the absolute best feature of the Acer Chromebook 14. This device, clad in a full aluminum body, simply reeks of quality. Most will likely point out a striking similarity to the MacBook Air, and that's fair. I mean, it's a dead ringer in most ways. However, there are plenty of tech devices that could have looked like that are far less attractive. Granted, the look of the MacBook Air is starting to feel a bit dated, but it's still classic and attractive. The same is true of the Acer 14, and even more so in this gold color. The lid on the standard aluminum color could almost be mistaken for plastic, but this gold model's texture and visual appeal are undeniable. Sitting on a table, coming out of your bag, or opened up and doing work, the Acer Chromebook 14 is a beautiful machine. It makes using it and working on it simply feel great. There are deals here and there on this device, and the fact that you can get a device that feels this premium under your palms for less than $250 most times is simply ridiculous. The build is solid, the hinge is solid, the fanless design is thin and attractive. The 14-inch screen is packed into a device that is close to most 13-inch laptops in its overall size. The weight isn't overwhelming, but it also feels substantial and quality in your hands. As I said, this build leaves out nothing I can think of. I simply love it. Port selection is pretty standard and what you'd expect for the most part. 2 USB 3.0 ports, a full-size HDMI slot, headphone microphone jack, power jack, and a Kensington lock. But there is one glaring omission: the SD card slot. That's right, Acer has opted to nix the SD card slot. While this may be a turnoff for some, I can say that my use case for an SD card is pretty minimal. There are USB to SD adapters that can be bought just about anywhere for under $10, but if constant use of an SD card is your thing, you may want to look elsewhere. Additionally, for expanding storage, SanDisk makes a pretty amazing and tiny USB 3.0 drive with crazy fast read-write speeds, and it comes in configurations of up to 128 gigs. I have one and it's quite amazing, so that's just a thought if the lack of SD card is really troubling to you. The screen is quite good on the Acer Chromebook 14 as well, not being the brightest we've seen, but also nowhere near dim. The screen tops out at around 220 nits, plenty for every indoor scenario I've come across, and with its matte finish, it fares decently outdoors as well. Honestly, it never gave me pause and was able to get plenty bright in just about any setting I used it in. Upon unboxing the device, I actually had to hop in the car for 2 hours to drive, and on the way, with my wife driving, I used the Acer 14 in the car for about an hour to take care of a few things in the midst of a very clear, very sunny day. There were no issues whatsoever with being able to see the screen in those conditions. The viewing angles are also very good on both horizontal and vertical axis, not really losing any color or distorting in any way, shape, or form. One of the huge fixes in Chrome OS is the handling of high-res objects on a 1080p screen. Prior to October, 1080p screens rendered everything just a bit small on screen. Fonts and icons and UI elements were in need of a slight size bump. The problem was the lack of proper UI scaling. If you bumped the resolution down, everything got bigger, but it was fuzzy and blurry. It was almost unusable actually, and so it really wasn't worth doing. Chrome OS has fixed this now. With 1080p screens, you simply change the resolution to 1536 by 864, and everything stays crisp and sharp, but rendered at 125% scale. This is similar to what is happening on screens like the HP Chromebook 13 G1 and the Chromebook Pixel, but now these 13 to 14-inch Chromebooks that have 1080p screens have a nice scaling option that fits the screen size much, much better. The overall benefit in UX is hard to quantify. It is that much better. So much so that Chromebooks with screens smaller than 15 inches that use a 1080p display get this display setting out of the box. It's the new standard, and it should be. It is fantastic. Keyboard and trackpad have been pleasant to use as well. The trackpad looks very similar to what you'd see on the Acer Chromebook 15, but has much better surface in general. Oils don't seem as prone to build up, and travel stays smooth and silky for hours of use. Multi-touch gestures work well as expected. Additionally, the click mechanism is just about perfect. Decently quiet with just the right amount of travel, this thing feels like a trackpad from a much, much more expensive machine. Apart from the Pixel, it's one of the best I've used in a Chromebook. The keyboard is pretty standard Acer fare. If you've liked their keyboards in the past, you're likely to enjoy this one as well. There's no backlighting, which is to be expected at this price, but it performs pretty well. Travel's decent and the keys are quiet and well spaced. I'm typing this review on it right now and have no issues at all with missed strokes or oversensitive keys. While nothing to write home about, it doesn't get in the way of the overall experience here. With what has now become a pretty standard setup for Chromebooks, this Chromebook gets along pretty well. Inside, we're met with the 5th gen Braswell 3160, 4 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of internal storage. Generally, octane scores of 8,500 to 9,000 are possible, and battery life sits at around 8 to 9 hours, with screen brightness set at 75%. Multiple tasks, kept in reason, don't bog things down too much. With Keep, Hangouts, Google Play Music, and a few browser tabs open, I wasn't seeing any slowdown. Adding a few more tasks to that overhead will start to slow things down eventually, but that's to be expected with Braswell machines in this class. Standard Chromebook usage yields pretty good results. While this isn't a glowing response to the Acer 14's speed, it is far better than this same device performed back in May. Octane scores are higher and use is simply better. Chrome OS has, once again, become much better with age. This device will be getting the full Play Store support very soon, so keep that in mind. If you get one sooner than the end of January, you can use the developer mode method and get Android apps up and running right now. It works very well and the apps I've tried run smoothly and without issue. As time goes on, obviously, this will only become better and a more refined user experience. Overall, the Acer Chromebook 14 has gone from a mediocre device to one of my highest recommendations. With a stunningly low price tag, this Chromebook is an easy recommendation. For most middle-of-the-road users, this thing hits on all points. Fantastic build, great screen, solid input methods, good performance, plenty of storage, and a stunning design aesthetic. The standard pricing of $299 is already a steal, but it can be found discounted and refurbished left and right. For that amount of money, I simply can't recommend this Chromebook enough. From a holistic experience standpoint, Acer has nailed it, possibly creating 2016's best overall Chromebook experience. Guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button below, and until the next one, we'll see you.